Just the other day, we ran a poll on the Jazzmentl channel in the community section asking you, what's the #1 thing holding you back from becoming a better musician? And 57% of you, which was the overwhelming majority, said that lack of self-discipline was the #1 thing holding you back. So I decided that in this video, I'm going to talk about how to master the art of self-discipline, because of course, many of us seem to lack this elusive thing called self-discipline. There are 5 really important aspects of self-discipline that you absolutely need in order to create it, manufacture it in your life, and master it. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Let's say when you get more self-discipline, you're able to become a better musician. To be able to just turn to your instrument at a moment's notice and play easily and effortlessly something that just sounds great. Maybe something like this. So let's talk about the 5 things that you're absolutely going to need in order to do something like that. #1, and this might be obvious to some, but elusive to others, you absolutely need to know what you really want. The #1 reason why you don't get what you want is because you just simply don't know what it is. What level of musicianship do you want to reach? What level of anything that you want to take on do you want to reach? In music, of course, we want to make music easily and effortlessly, like the example that I just played. So if that's absolutely what you want, you have to think about very specifically what type of music, what level of musicianship. Do you want to become an expert, a professional? Do you want to get paid for it? I think there's a lot of people on this channel who already get paid to play. Maybe you want to up that from $300 a gig to $3,000 a gig. And if that's the case, then you absolutely need to know and visualize that in your head and in your heart. That's what you want to do. And if you don't know what it is you want and you don't know where you're going, no amount of self-discipline will take you there. Okay, #2, as soon as you know what it is you want, then you need to adopt enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is probably the highest form of energy there is within us. It creates a certain amount of motivation and charge and enjoyability that takes you where you want to go. There's actually a formula for enthusiasm, and it's 2 parts. The first part is you have to do something that you enjoy. Nobody has to force you to do something that you already love to do. For example, I love to play the piano. So sitting at the piano and learning new things and adopting new hand techniques and new chord changes and learning new tunes, nobody has to force me to do that. I love it. And so that's a really good aspect of enthusiasm. I'm enthusiastic about playing the piano. But there's also a second part to enthusiasm that creates a lot more self-discipline, and that is add a big goal. What happens with most musicians is they just practice for the sake of practicing. I think as musicians, we just want to be heard. So create a goal around that, whether it's to play your first concert for a group of people, you want to play in a club, you want to do a concert, that would be pretty awesome. Maybe you just want to make a recording. Maybe you just want to post something on Facebook so that other people can listen and admire your professionalism. So whatever it is, make it big, because nothing ever big got created with a small idea. The 2 parts are something that you enjoy, something that you love to do, add a big goal to that, and you will create enthusiasm. All right, #3, when you know what you want and you've become enthusiastic, the 3rd part is to start scheduling your time. There's nothing more important in life than to set aside the time to practice and work on the things that you love to do. Piano is no exception. Other musical instruments is no exception. Anything that you want to do that takes skill to do has to be learned. And in order to learn something, you have to spend time. And in order to get that time, you're going to have to set aside other things. The very definition of self-discipline is what you really want versus what you want right now. What you really want being that thing we talked about in #2, which is part of enthusiasm. What do we really want? versus what we want right now, which is all of the competing intentions, right? We really want to practice our instruments. We really want to get better, but we also really want to just take a walk. We also want to read. We want to watch television. We want to eat. We want to do things. We want to have free time. I totally get all of that, but those are competing intentions. They're always going to compete for the time that you need to put into what you really love to do. For me, it's not hard to set aside time for the piano. I have it in a place where it doesn't bother other people. I can come here at 6 a.m. in the morning if I want to and play. I can play in the middle of the night if I want to. So a place to practice your instrument is very important, but scheduling the time to do that is equally as important. You're going to have to set aside other competing intentions if indeed you're going to adopt a certain amount of self-discipline. Scheduling is an inherent part of creating self-discipline. You have to be disciplined enough to set the time aside to do the things that you need to do to achieve those big goals that you're trying to achieve. All right, the fourth thing, and this is super critical. When you do sit down to practice, you have to have some kind of method. I do have other videos on this channel that talk about what to do with your practice time, but I use something called the 10-24-7 method. The 10-24-7 method means that you sit down and you apply a level 10 energy to something that you're working on. Level 10 meaning on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest amount of energy. That's where your focus and all of your intrinsic motivation goes into something that you're working on. That's very important. I think a lot of us just whimsically practice whatever and we just kind of expect things to get better. No, it's really the energy behind what you do. Level 10 meaning the highest amount of energy that you can put into it. And then 24 means do the same thing again in 24 hours. Repeat the same exercise. Repeat that new tune that you're trying to learn. Repeat those new chord changes. Repeat that line that you're trying to figure out that's going to make you a better soloist. Repeat that in 24 hours. The first practice session, level 10, do it again in 24 hours, and then do it again in 7 days. If you don't do anything in between day 2 and the 7th day, I think that's okay. At least you had 3 times over the period of a week to put 100% of your energy into one thing. Don't learn a million things at the same time. Learn one and learn it well enough. If that's the only thing that you need to do in that practice session, then that's going to really pay off in the long run because you're going to retain that information. If you just jump from thing to thing and you jump from YouTube video to YouTube video trying to learn new things all the time, that's okay, but you're not going to be able to retain that information as much as if you use the 10-24-7 method. Let's say you're learning 5/4 time, like the example we played earlier. Maybe the entire practice session is just around that one riff, doing the left hand bass, and then adding the right hand to that. So you can talk and have the music play at the same time. 5/4 is not the easiest thing. In fact, I've been trying to record something in 5/4 for a while now, and there's little mistakes here and there. It has to be perfect. If you're going to commit it to an album, it absolutely has to be your best work without fault. Even though Miles Davis said there are no wrong notes, I think we all know that at some level, mistakes kind of stand out in a recording. Okay, so use the 10-24-7 method when you sit down to practice, very important. Okay, before we get to the last important element of becoming more self-disciplined, let me just ask you a really big favor. If you could just reach down and hit the little thumbs up button if you like videos like these, it's really important. It helps our channel do better and it helps us reach other musicians with our tutorials and our messaging. And if you think that you're going to find value in our videos in terms of becoming a better piano player or a better musician, and I'm really specifically talking about jazz, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're not going to watch tutorials on how to become a better jazz musician, then it's probably not a great idea to subscribe because it actually hurts our channel to have subscribers who don't watch our videos. So if you are going to subscribe, hit the little bell and we'll keep notifying you of when new videos drop. And the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about, number 6 in creating self-discipline, is something that is quite philosophical. So I want you to follow me on this because I think as soon as you grasp this concept, you'll innately learn and intrinsically go after whatever it is you want. And this thing has 4 levels. And the first level is the level that we've all been at one time. And that's what we call unconsciously incompetent. It's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect. You know, when you don't know enough about something to know if you're any good or not, a lot of people judge themselves as great musicians when they don't even have enough knowledge about music to know whether they're any good or not. And that's what I mean by unconsciously incompetent. You're not even aware that you're not doing well. And the first step to doing better at anything, even self-discipline, is to be consciously aware that you're incompetent. So you want to become consciously incompetent. The first thing is you need to wake up and realize that you are incompetent. You can't change something that you don't even acknowledge. All right, once you're consciously incompetent, then you want to obviously get to the next level. And that next level is consciously competent. You're now aware that you're incompetent, and you know you have to adopt a certain amount of self-discipline in order to achieve something. That means we're going to apply the 10-24/7 method and all the other things that we talked about in this video in order to do better. We're becoming consciously competent. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's a great level to achieve, but there is another level, and that level is unconsciously competent. Whoa, wait a minute. That means I'm competent and I'm unaware that I'm competent. Or in other words, I don't have to think about it. I'm unconsciously creating great music. I'm pretty sure you have enough common sense to know that if you sit at the piano and you play a left-hand bass line, you can't be thinking about that left-hand bass line while you're soloing with the right. You can't think about them at the same time. It's impossible to do that. So there has to be a certain amount of unconscious competence happening in your playing in order for you to get to that highest level of performance. So for example, if I play that bass line, I want to be able to solo over that. Get the idea? There's no way that without unconscious competence that you could do something like that. So that's the whole point of number 6, is go through those 4 stages. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then finally unconscious competence. Okay, those are my 6 ideas on how to create more self-discipline in your life. I hope you enjoyed those. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, you can put it in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas on how you created more self-discipline in your life, please put that in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new to this channel and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to do some of the things that I hear in this video, I'd like to become more self-disciplined, but I'm really just getting started, I have a great jazz piano series for beginners, and I'm going to post a link to the first video in that series right here.